G'day, mates. Wazza Dazza here, down under in Australia. Just hanging out at the iconic rock formation formerly known as Ayers Rock until it was renamed or restored to its ancient name of Uluru, enjoying a fine snack of Vegemite. Okay, if you don't know what Vegemite is, well, you're probably not from Australia. This is like Australia's #1 culinary delicacy. Some might call it a culinary abomination. It's a very salty, savory spread that's jam-packed full of minerals and vitamins. And I personally think it's awesome. I like to put it on toast with avocado on top of it, and it's delicious. But the fine folks in Australia were so happy that I was coming down here to visit their country that they made me my own Vegemite. Look at that. Wonderhussey brand Vegemite. No need to settle for any imitations. Okay, I can hear you saying to yourself, you can't fool us, Wonderhussey. If you're really hanging out at Uluru, well, why is nothing in the background moving? And why does your voice sound so echoey? Well, okay, Sherlock Holmes, you're right. I'm not standing in front of Uluru. I'm actually hanging out in my basement in Death Valley, standing in front of my green screen. Because even though I am leaving for Australia in 2 days, I still have so much to do, well, I'm not going to be able to film a video at Uluru, even though it's the most iconic geographic feature in the whole dang country, because, come to find out, it's one of those sensitive archaeological native sites where they want you to have a permit to film video. Okay, my friend that I'm going down to Australia with told me about this a few weeks ago, and he goes, ooh, Wonderhussey, you better get a permit to film down there. I was like, well, do I really need a permit? I feel like those kinds of regulations are really in place for big budget Hollywood type productions that are gonna fly helicopters and drones and cranes and create a disturbance. I'm just one idiot with a cell phone, so I really can't see how I'm gonna create that much of a disturbance. And so I was just kind of gonna operate under the radar and film discreetly and be very polite about it and not disrespect any of the ancient sacred rock art or whatever all is down there. But, you know, my friend goes, well, just get the permit. It's not that expensive, you know, better to just do it all above board. And so I went online and yeah, it was only like $100 or something. Like, okay, well, I only need to film for 1 day, even though we're going to be camping there 3 days. I can bang out a video in 1 day. You know, what's there to see? I'll film the rock, I'll film the petroglyphs, I'll film the campground, just show you what it's like to camp at Uluru, because I think it's going to be pretty interesting for many reasons. Mainly for me, because I'm weird, because Uluru is where that woman was camping when the dingo ate her baby. Okay, remember that Meryl Streep movie back in the day? A dingo ate my baby. Well, it's actually not something to laugh at all. It was a terrible story. This young couple was camping at Uluru, only back then it was called Ayers Rock, this woman claimed that these dingoes, which are wild dogs that live down there, got into her tent, grabbed her baby daughter, and dragged her off into the bush. Now, this poor woman was under a cloud of suspicion pretty much from the get-go, because everybody thought, dingoes didn't eat her baby. They didn't find any evidence of any baby parts or, you know, bloody dingoes anywhere in the area. And so everybody just kind of thought she smothered the baby and, you know, buried it or dumped it in a river or something somewhere. And so it went on for decades, okay? I think she was convicted in court at first, but then she was absolved, or whatever you call it when a conviction is overturned. I think it went back and forth a few times. And then finally, just within the last 5 years, I want to say, I think they found like the little onesie or something that the baby had been wearing way out in the bush somewhere around Uluru Rock, and it had like, I guess, jaggedy tears on it, indicating that yes, dingoes really did eat her baby. Way back in, gosh, when was that? The late 1970s. This poor woman not only had to live with the pain of losing her baby daughter, but also of having to live under this cloud of suspicion her entire life and being the butt of a bunch of jokes. I don't know, I just thought it was a pretty interesting story, and so I would like to film a video at that campground where that happened and also show the natural beauty and the archaeological significance of the site, but my request was denied. That's right, I got turned down for a permit because they said they had too many media requests on the days that I'm gonna be there. And I thought, dang it, I knew I shouldn't have requested a permit. If I just would have gone around discreetly with my cell phone, everything would have been fine. But because I tried to do things the legitimate way, well, unfortunately, it kind of bit me in the ass. So I won't be able to film any video at Uluru, which is partly why I'm standing here in front of my green screen so that I can at least pretend that I went there. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Well, so you didn't get the permit, just sneak and film it anyways on your cell phone. Well, no. In the email I got declining my permit, it said at the bottom, and don't even think about sneaking. Sorry for the poor imitation of an Australian accent. Basically said, don't even think about doing this without permission because you could be subject to this, and this kinds of prosecution. And well, yeah, sure. By the time I post the video, I'll be back in America. So what's the big deal? I don't trust them down there. Okay, if you ever watched The Simpsons back in the day when The Simpsons was really funny in the late 90s, mid-late 90s, they had that one episode where The Simpsons went to Australia. And I can't remember what he did. Bart Simpson, little Bart Simpson, always getting into trouble, did something to piss off the Australians. And the punishment they gave him was the boot. They had this giant boot. This guy came out in a pair of jorts, jean shorts, and one regular boot and one giant boot, and that was going to be the punishment. All he had to do was kick Bart Simpson in the butt with this giant boot. But, well, I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it yet. They end up fleeing for their lives because no God-fearing American boy is going to get a big Australian boot in his ass, by gum. Anyway, I'm afraid if I violate this permit situation, well, they might give me the boot. And that's pretty much the last thing I want. Okay, anyway, I can't stand down here blabbing about dingoes and giant boots all day. I still have a ton of packing to do. Like I said, I'm leaving for Australia in 2 days. 2 days to pack everything that I'm gonna need for a 3-week camping expedition in the Australian Outback. That's right, in the bush. I'm not only going down under, but I'm going into the Outback and deep into the bush. I already warned you that there was gonna be a ton of double entendre jokes in very poor taste made while I'm down there traveling around. But yeah, I'm gonna be traveling around for 3 weeks, camping essentially, with a friend who has an overlanding vehicle down there. He's been traveling around Australia for a year now in, I can't remember, it's a Land Rover, Land Cruiser that he had outfitted with a rooftop tent and all the bells and whistles to go cruising around the bush. And I'm gonna be accompanying him. He's gonna be sleeping in the rooftop tent, and I'm gonna be sleeping in like a one-man kind of pup tent. He called it a swag, which I had never heard of. Now, when he invited me to Australia, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just bring my backpacking tent. But he was like, oh no, you can't sleep in a tent in Australia. There's all these gnarly snakes and spiders and bugs and oh my God, yeah, I'm trying not to look at that stuff online because it's true, Australia has some really creepy crawly critters that puts anything in Death Valley to shame, but I don't know, I've camped in Death Valley plenty of times, so I don't know why I couldn't camp in a tent in the Australian Outback, I ain't afraid of a little bush, right? So anyway, my friend, after being down there for a year now, came to realize that, oh yeah, okay, you can sleep in a tent down there. You just gotta be careful where you put your hands and shake your boots out in the morning, that kind of thing, which, hello, that's camping 101 just about anywhere. So I was gonna bring my backpacking tent, but he actually went ahead and ordered what he called a swag, because he said he needed one anyway. And the nice thing about that is, here I was thinking, oh gosh, I'll bring my backpacking tent and my backpacking sleeping pad, which, you know how those inflatable pads just aren't very comfortable. So I was about to crank open my wallet, or creak open my wallet, and order the most expensive, most comfortable air pad I could find. But then he ordered this swag, which comes with an actual foam mattress. I guess the deal is I have to bring the swag back to the US with me when I leave, but in exchange, I get to sleep on this comfy actual foam mattress in this swag for the entire 3 weeks I'm down under. Go figure. Just when I'm about to leave for Australia, we get this amazing weather. Look at the weather today. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm shooting this on May 4th, like I said, so normally it's blistering hot, bright sun, flies buzzing all over the place, but today it's very still and everything is blanketed by this awesome cover of clouds, and it's very pleasant out here. But I know it won't last forever. In fact, it probably won't last more than a day or two, and then it will be hotter than blazes up here, which is why I thought it would be a good idea to go down to Australia. Okay, Australia is in the southern hemisphere, so the seasons are backwards. So while we're just coming into summer here, well, they're just going into fall, and then I guess winter down there. So even though I am going to the desert, I mean, I'm basically spending the entire time in Australia in the outback, in the bush, which is desert, it should be very pleasant. Now, I was looking at my map, and coincidentally, I have been down to that same latitude when I went to Namibia a few years ago. Okay, I went on this kind of like expedition safari type thing in Namibia with my doctor friend back in 2019, and we did the same thing. We rented a 4x4, had a rooftop tent. We drove all around the Namibian outback and camped all over the place, and it was awesome. And the weather was perfect. And I think it was May, it was the same time of year, and it was the same latitude. It was the Tropic of Capricorn, same as Australia. So Namibia is a desert country. The Australian outback is a desert. I feel like it's probably going to be about the same temperature that it was on that trip, which was very pleasant. So I'll be fine when I'm in Australia, but when I come back at the end of my trip, whoo-wee, it's gonna be hot. Okay, anyway, I got distracted. I'm supposed to be going inside and, well, continuing my packing, which I'm gonna pack most of my stuff tomorrow. Tomorrow's my last day here in the US, and then Tuesday morning, my sister's gonna drive me into Vegas and dump me at the airport, and then I gotta fly from Vegas to Los Angeles, LAX, and then I have to wait around at LAX for 7 hours and then fly to Australia. And it's actually, I think the flight is 15 hours and 15 minutes. Probably gonna be closer to 16 hours by the end of it. 16 hours on an airplane, oh. And my friend that I'm meeting down there was kind enough to give me the ticket for free with his frequent flyer miles, so I didn't have to pay for a ticket. I'm very lucky. Unfortunately, it's economy class. So that means, well, that means I won't be able to recline my seat if I want to try and get any sleep at all on this dang flight. Which, of course, is the whole idea of a flight leaving at 10 p.m. and arriving at 5 a.m. 2 days later. I'm not really sure how that works. You cross the date line or something. I don't know. I know I'm flying out of LA at 10 p.m. on May 6th, and I'm arriving in Sydney at 5 a.m. on May 8th. Anyway, it's basically one big, long, miserable red eye. And so, yeah, I'm going to want to try to sleep. So even though I'm in economy and I can only recline my seat, that much, and even then the person behind me will probably complain and start banging on the back, I thought, well, I got to try to be as comfortable as I can. So I tried to order a travel pillow. These stupid neck pillows? This one was recommended by a friend of mine here in town, and she said it worked for her, but I don't know. Like, the thing with this, it has these two snaps. You snap it together, but it doesn't, your head is still gonna fall forward and you're gonna get a terrible crick in your neck, and I don't know. Then I asked my brother's partner if she had any recommendations, because she flies to Asia a lot, and she recommended this Cabot pillow, which I like a little bit better because it has a flat back on it, so you can lean back. In fact, it has these Velcro straps on it that you attach to the headrest of your seat, so it keeps your chin from falling forward. Again, it has a little snap at the front. And you pull this as tight as you can. You strap yourself to the back of the friggin' headrest, and you get the best sleep of your life, I guess. Or so they tell me in the Amazon reviews. Anyway, I also got these compression socks. Well, okay, they're actually not compression socks. They're more like compression sleeves, because I hate having my toes all crinkled up. But the idea, I guess, with these is when you're sitting in one place for 16 hours, well, your legs will swell up and there's possibility of getting a blood clot, which, you know, I'm a pretty healthy, active person, so that's not really a concern, but I don't want to have like puffy, swollen legs when I land, because that has happened to me on a flight before. One time I flew from Dublin, Ireland, basically to Vegas, but there was a bunch of different changes along the way, and I had gone to Ireland with my sister, actually, because I was doing a photo shoot. This Irish photographer hired me for 3 days of paid work in Dublin, and so I thought, oh, well, let's make a trip out of it. And so then we went to London afterward. Me and my sister had a fine time, but I had brought this pot brownie with me. Somebody had made me a pot brownie, and this was back in the day before edibles were legal. You couldn't just go to a store and buy edibles. So somebody had made me this pot brownie. I brought some with me because I know I have a hard time sleeping. I didn't want to eat it when I was doing the photo shoot because I knew it would make me groggy, so I kind of saved it for the trip home. And I remember I ate a pretty big chunk of it I guess at the airport in Dublin, and I was friggin' zonked out the entire flight. I mean, we flew from Dublin to London, and then from London to Newark, I think, and then from Newark to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and man, I was just the whole time, except for when they would wake me up for meal service, dinner time. Woo, you know, if you've ever been high, it's like a stoner's dream to be high on an airplane because you're just sleeping, and then every now and then they wake you up to give you more food. It was awesome. So I'm hoping, well, I'm not gonna say too much about it. I'm hoping that'll be the case on this flight too. But anyway, on that flight, I did not have these compression socks on, and so yeah, my legs were real swollen and real puffy, and it didn't look very good, and it wasn't very comfortable. So hopefully these help with that. Then I also got, on the recommendation of my friend Terry, who is not only from Australia himself, but has flown down there and to Indonesia and the Philippines a bunch of times. He's used to long distance flights. He also recommended I get some low dose aspirin. That I guess helps with the swelling. I take that before the flight. He also swears by these lipospheric vitamin C packets. If you've never heard of these, I've been taking them for years, actually. They're like these little foil packets of orange goo that contain liposomal vitamin C, which is supposedly better absorbed by your body than ascorbic acid vitamin C, which is the kind most people take. I don't know, man. I've been taking these for years, and I still got friggin' COVID and shingles while taking them, but can never be too safe. I don't want to pick up any nasty viruses on the plane, so I'm bringing a bunch of vitamin C. Oh, I'm bringing a bunch of stuff that I'll need for camping. I got my instant decaf coffee to drink in the morning. In my coffee mug, I've got my headlamp. I got some, these are supposed to be really good wipes for washing your face out in the middle of nowhere. You know, all my toiletries, my towels. Don't forget to bring a towel. Sunglasses, sleeping mask for the airplane, and also in the Outback. Got my Outback survival manual, and I've got some reading material. Okay, this is a book called Tracks by Robin Davidson. And if you've never heard of Robin Davidson, oh my God. She was this amazing, adorable little blonde cutie who traveled solo across the Australian Outback from Alice to Ocean with a bunch of camels. That's right, camels. This chick got 3 camels, 2 to carry her gear, and then 1 that she rode on, and she crossed the entire, well, half of the continent of Australia from the town of Alice Springs, which is kind of like the only town of any significant size in the entire interior of Australia. Okay, if you ever look at a map of Australia, it's basically, well, all the population is down here on the East Coast, south and the East Coast, the Southeast. And then there's a couple cities up top, and then there's one city over on the West Coast. But other than that, man, there's hardly any population in this whole interior except for Alice Springs. So she geared up with her 3 camels there and crossed the entire desert all the way to the ocean. And this book is amazing. This is the picture book version of it. It's got all these adorable pictures of her in the Outback. You know, well, that's her training her camel before she left. But yeah, she does. She crosses the whole friggin' thing with these camels. Well, I was gonna say by herself, but it's actually kind of disingenuous because she wasn't by herself. She had this National Geographic photographer with her, which is how they got all these amazing images. Anyway, this dude kind of followed along, photographing the whole thing, and then wouldn't you know it, they ended up falling in love and hooking up. Classic Hollywood ending. Look, there's a picture of the photographer. Kind of a goofy looking guy, but I don't know. Robin saw something in him. Anyway, that's basically the itinerary for my trip too, okay? The guy that I'm meeting down there is a big fan of this book. And so I am flying to Alice Springs and traveling to the ocean, okay? Not along her exact route. I think we're gonna follow quite a bit of her route and end up in Perth, which is where I'm gonna fly out of 3 weeks from now. I don't actually have a return ticket yet. Isn't that crazy? I just booked the outbound and then left the departure kind of flexible because we're traveling through the Outback for 3 weeks. Anything could go wrong. There could be all kinds of delays and I wouldn't want to have to worry about missing my flight. So we're just going to book that when it gets closer, because the only thing certain about the Outback is that it's totally uncertain. Okay, my friend also sent me this Australia road atlas so I could look at the roads and the areas where we're going, I guess, and sort of figure things out. But what's funny is the area where we're going isn't even really represented in this book because it's so remote. This book is mostly just the population centers on the coasts. I mean, if I look at a chunk of desert where we're going, there's not a whole lot in the interior. Look at that. Timber Creek to Camooweal. I can't wait to be sitting in the Australian bush and make a video saying, "Good day, mates, Wazza Dazza here from Camel Toe, Australia." Incidentally, you might be wondering why I called myself Wazza Dazza. Well, I was talking to my friend Daryl the other day, and he's been down to Australia, and he said that's how they do with nicknames down there. They take the first letter of your name, which his name is Daryl, so they called him Dazza. And since my name is wonderhussie, well, I guess that would make me Wazza Dazza. So anyway, in between looking at the atlas and looking at those photos, I've mostly just been spending the last few weeks editing, non-friggin' stop. I had all these videos. Oh, look, this one finished. All these videos had to be uploaded in advance so that you guys didn't have to miss a single Wednesday or Friday while I'm away. Ooh, how's that for a preview of coming attractions? Coming soon to Wonderhussey Adventures. I do have some pretty good stuff uploaded and scheduled to go live while I'm away because, yeah, we're going to have a Starlink down there, but gosh, I'm going to be so busy filming and looking out for poisonous bugs and drop bears and all the crazy stuff they supposedly have down there that actually drop bears, I think, is just an urban legend. Everybody kept telling me, "Ooh, Wonderhussey, you better watch out for drop bears when you're down under." I thought, oh, I better look up what these drop bears are. Well, it's a joke. I think it's kind of like, it's supposed to be a koala bear that falls out of the tree and attacks you, but it's not real. Although there are many other terrifying and real critters down there. Anyway, I'm going to be so busy keeping my eye out for all of that that the last thing I'm going to want to do is sit around editing. And so, gosh, it just about killed me, but I think I did it. I'm going to edit and upload this video that I'm shooting right now, and then I'm going to shoot one more vlog along the way since I have a 7-hour layover at LAX. I figure I might as well roam around LAX and see if there's anything interesting at all going on in that airport. And who knows, you know, LAX, that's where all the movie stars fly out of, so maybe I'll see some movie stars. Of course, when you see those pictures of them at the airport, they never look like they do in the movies. They're always wearing like sweatpants and big sunglasses. And I don't know. I gotta kill the time one way or the other, and I need stuff to post while I'm away, so that's the last one I have to do, and then I am done with work for 3 weeks. Well, not done with work. I still have to shoot videos. That is everywhere except for at Uluru. I hope you're happy, Uluru. Anyway, I'm just gonna wrap this up because I do still have a ton of packing to do, and I do still have some editing to do. Man, I have miles to go before I sleep. And I have a feeling that I won't even be getting much sleep.